The people of this land need homes to live in, so let us build the basic hut. It's a single square room with walls built with sun-dried bricks, or rammed earth, or wattle and daub, or rocks if there's enough of those around. It depends on where we are building our house. But wherever we are, we coat the walls with an earthen plaster, and to avoid rain damage to our walls and to create some nice shaded space outdoors, we surround the hut with a veranda, which is built of wood of course, and so is the roof of the hut, and the ceiling, if there's a ceiling, and the floor, if we are fancy enough to have a floor. Now put some thatch on the roof, and we are done. That's a hut you might find in a hamlet. In the towns, people live more densely, and hide behind tall fences, and build storage rooms and animal pens against them. And so we have a square townhouse, within a square courtyard, within a square outbuilding. The inner square is a place for people, and the outer square is a place for objects and animals and visiting guests. The reception room and the guest rooms are also built against the fence. So the outer square is public, and the inner square is private, and the courtyard is the insulating space between the two. A wealthier town dweller could have a larger inner house, with another courtyard in the center, like in a Japanese townhouse, and maybe a pool in that courtyard for collecting water. And if he were extra wealthy and his private pool were extra large, he could place a gazebo in the middle, or even a whole building. And we've now arrived at a square within 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 a square. And there could be a courtyard inside of a gazebo with a miniature shrine within it. Maybe the center of every house, as well as being private, is also sacred somehow, while the outskirts are profane and inherently unclean, and the rightful place for the toilet and for the garbage bin. And the center is both kept clean physically and is pure spiritually. Maybe the more layers you add, the more filth you keep out, and the more sacred the center becomes. So the approach to a place of worship is like an obstacle course of low walls, and the more gateways you pass, the more purified you become. And when you reach the outer courtyard, where all the major rituals are done, the temple building in the center is where all the offerings are stored, and the image of the god is in the courtyard within, where regular people can't come in. But they can see the god from the public courtyard, and maybe, in the artistic tradition of this land, gods are depicted as people who are 2 doorways away. Also, the god stands under the open sky rather than enclosed. I wonder if this means anything. But anyway, there's reed houses in the marshlands, and in the wooded hills, people build wooden huts. And the basic hut, be the walls built with sun-dried bricks or rammed earth or wattle and daub or rocks, is warm enough in the mild winter, if everyone puts on a woolen cloak, and cool enough in the hot summer. As for the furniture, everyone sleeps in low beds. Fancy people own cabinets and chests, and I harbor an animosity towards chairs, so everyone sits on rugs and cushions, and food is served on low tables. But what sort of food? This is a bit of world building I had no choice but to do in advance, as my characters had to eat something. I first set out to have everyone eat like it's Portugal in the Iron Age, and eventually found that olives and wine just don't inspire me. But olives got me thinking about another green and fatty fruit, avocado, and I read the first half of this book, which is all about the cuisine of the Aztecs. So now my basic peasant eats lots of gruel. This is the most ubiquitous staple food, and it's made mainly of maize, but it's fantasy maize that's sown in autumn, can't be hurt by a frost, and gets harvested in spring. And those too fancy for a bowl of gruel, Eat maize bread along with a sauce or soup or stew of some type. There are many ingredients available for that, with chili being a very important one. Apparently, the Aztecs considered it a penance to eat food without chili pepper. The domestic animals they used for food were dogs and turkeys. I'm taking that for myself, but also adding the fantasy domesticated mountain goat, which was somehow possible to domesticate, even though the real one is not, and which is more important for its wool and milk than its meat, and the milk is turned into butter and cheese. Wild animals are edible too, but which ones inhabit this land? If not the Portuguese ones, then definitely the Californian ones. Alas, no boar hunts for my characters, but with all these rivers flowing into the fantasy Pacific, everyone can enjoy lots of salmon. And I should mention horses. They exist in the story. I suppose I've brought them back from extinction, and they get eaten also. And there's edible wild plants around, like California buckwheat for example, which can be added to the gruel, or watercress, another ingredient for soup. There's also grapes, native to the area. I've tried escaping wine, but wine has come chasing me, and I've not forgotten about acorns. Acorn gruel is perfect for peasants. And so, everyone is housed and fed and has a temple to pray at. Now I only need to invent some gods for them to pray to.